Hey guys, today I'm going to be talking to you about my VIP experience for the Illuminate tour. So let's jump right into it. So I met Shawn on Saturday, August 5th, and I had gold VIP, and so did my sister and my friend. And we got to the arena around 11 a.m. just because we wanted to be like pretty close for Q&A. And check-in wasn't until around 3 o'clock. So once it hit 3:30, they let us in, and at the door there was a table where they checked the ID of the purchaser, and then they gave us our laminates and also our wristbands, which they cut off right before you met Shawn or like enter the museum. And then we went through security, and then we went upstairs and stood in a line. And while we stood in line, we were able to go to like the backdrop of the Illuminate album and get to take a picture. And there was the guitar for you to take a picture with if you wanted. And we kind of stood in line just hanging around for about an hour, not really knowing when we would be let in or when we would do anything. We actually got to hear Shawn soundtracking too, so that was cool because he was hitting like high notes and we were all just like, whoa. And during that time, we also saw the Teen Choice Panda, and they were filming a video with like a surfboard. I'm not sure what was happening, but that happened. So once it was around 4:40, that's when things started going, and we moved up a little closer, and then there were like security who were counting us off in groups of 10, and after there were 10 of us, they would move us closer to the room where Shawn was in, and we gave someone our stuff outside at the table, and then we walked in, and there was someone outside of the museum and who cut off our wristband. And I'll insert a picture of that right here. Once they cut off your wristband, that's when you got to go into the museum. And once you were in there, there was no going back out until you already met Shawn. And in the museum, there was like the blueprint for the Illuminate tour and his outfits that he wore like at the VMAs and the Life of the Party video. And it was kind of like just all good vibes around with music playing. And once you got closer to the curtain, you can hear Shawn talking, and that's when you kind of like, your heart stops because what? And while we were outside, you can kind of see in the curtain a little because it was like a little gap, and you can see the photographer taking the picture, and that's kind of like. And Jake was standing there opening the curtain for people, and my friend was in front of me, and my sister was behind me. And once my friend went in, I was like, wait, what? And literally, after I saw my friend go in, my mind just went blank. That's when my body shut down. I don't know. I've never had an experience like this before, right before I met someone. And I just remember Jake opening the curtain, and then I kind of like stepped in, and then I turned to my left, and I saw Shawn's figure. My eyes weren't really working, but as I walked up to him, I was like, hey, how's it going? And he was like, hey, how are you? But then I realized what I just said because Honest is like one of his best songs off of the Illuminate album. And so, of course, I said, no pun intended. And I totally ignored his how are you. But after I said that, he was like, okay. And I was like, but then we posed for the picture, and before the whole meet and greet thing, I knew what pose I wanted. It wasn't really like a pose, but it was something that I wanted to do. So we posed for the picture, and I didn't do what I wanted. And suddenly in my head, something went hand. And so my hand shot up, and then his hand went on mine. Like I felt it, and I saw him like do it from the corner of my eye. And after we took the picture, I didn't even look him in the face, like, again. I literally tried to walk out until his arm, like, grabbed my arm, and I couldn't feel it at first, but suddenly, like, something was, like, tugging back, and I, like, turned around. He's like, thank you, hun, have fun tonight, and I didn't know what to say back. I was just like, good luck tonight, and he's like, thank you, and as we were saying this, our hands were, like, doing this, and his hands are so soft, like, what? Once I was done meeting him, I stepped out of the little curtain box thing, and that's when I got my poster. And then I went outside of the room and got all of my stuff, and then we were walked to another room where the Q&A was. And since we were about the 20th people who met him, we were third row for the Q&A. And we waited about maybe 20 minutes or longer for him to meet everyone and then come into the room to start the Q&A. Right before Shawn came out for the Q&A, Jake went over a few rules for us of like what not to ask Shawn, and for us to keep it fair by not like asking for a selfie or like an autograph. And then right before like he came out or he was about to come out, we started singing happy birthday to him, and he came out like, oh, okay, cool. And he was like, it's not until 3 days, but thank you. And we're all like, I would say the Q&A was about 20 minutes long, and how it worked, if you don't know already, is you would raise your hand if you had a question, and there's a chance that Shawn would call on you. And he didn't call on me, but that's totally okay. But once someone asks if he's done anything in Nebraska, he was like, what is there to do in Nebraska? And everyone goes, it's boring, cornfields. And then it started to die down a little, but we were still going at it. And I was like, cornfields. And right when I said that, he like looked at me for like a quick second, and I was like, oh.
Cornfields.
It was a pretty typical Q&A where people would ask Shawn questions and then he would answer them. So once that was all over, we got pictures with where Shawn was sitting because it was kind of cool. And then we were led down to the arena part of the CenturyLink Center since we were in the convention center part. And then we got in line for merch, and while we were in line, we heard Charlie sound checking, which was pretty cool since I'm like a huge Charlie fan. And for merch, I got the tour t-shirt, which looks like this in the front, and then it has the dates in the back. And this was $35. And I also got the hoodie, which looks like this in the front, and then it says Shawn Mendes Illuminate World Tour in the back. And this was $60. Once we got all of our merch, we went to our seats, which were in the fourth row, and we were in the first two seats. So we were in the aisle, which was pretty awesome. And at exactly 7:30, Charlie came on, and his set was about a half hour long, and he did amazing, of course. And then once his set was over, we waited for about a half hour. So at 8:30, Shawn came on, and of course he did amazing. And once it hit the time for him to go to B stage, we ran towards there, or not ran, but like we walked. And then once he was done singing Ruin, we like went up to B stage. So we got Barricade. And so during Roses and Patience, Three Empty Words, and Life of the Party, we were like front row, which was so cool. Overall, Shawn did amazing, of course, and the whole concert was amazing. Both Shawn and Charlie know how to put on a good show. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. And feel free to check out my other videos, including my vlog for this concert or my experience meeting Ariana. And I'm not sure when my next concert will be, but stay tuned for future videos.